Hello Ride On people. If you're anything like me, you like watching a bit of bike racing on the telly, whether that's AMA, British Superbike, World Superbike or MotoGP. Each of the series is different. Different bikes, different riders, different circuits. So stands to reason some are going to be more entertaining than others. In addition to that, the rules and regs change, and also things like the order on the starting grid changes. Now lest we forget, other than big business and sport, these events are actually about entertainment. If the fans go away, so does the money. So it's important to put on a good show. And I'm just wondering whether all these race series do that in terms of, have they got the right format for the job? And as they're all different, well, maybe not. So let me tell you how they differ, and then I'd like to gauge your feedback in the comments and questions in terms of what you think, whether you think one series is better than another and why, or perhaps you've got your own ideas about how series could be run and improved. So, excuse me, I'll have to put on the bins for a change, and also for a change I'll have to refer to a few notes rather than just wing it, because it gets a bit complicated. Let's start with the easy stuff, MotoGP. Okay, MotoGP has a traditional grid sequence, and it's purely based on qualifying times, i.e. fastest guy around a circuit in qualifying, he's on the front of the grid. Slowest guy, he's on the back, and everybody in between sequentially. So fairly straightforward, fastest man first. AMA, the America homegrown series, World Superbike kind of based series, that has a traditional grid sequence, and it's based on either qualifying times or the race one finish sequence. In other words, it's like the old World Superbike series. The first race of a round of a meeting is based purely on qualifying times, and the second race is based on how well you did in the first race. Simple as that, really. Well, Superbike has evolved and they've gone to a different format, and this is slightly complicated. It kind of affects the front three rows of the grid for the second race. So the first race in World Superbike is just traditional. Whoever qualifies first is on front row of the grid. In the second race, this is where it gets a bit more complicated. The riders who finished 4th, 5th and 6th will be promoted to the front row. Those who finished 7th, 8th and 9th will move to the second row. And those who finish 1st, 2nd and 3rd will move to the third row. But in addition, they will also see the 1st and 3rd place finishers reverse their position. So a little bit more complicated, that one. And, kind of had mixed effects on the outcomes, but ostensibly probably hasn't changed the predictions of who's going to win the races all that much, really. British Superbike has a totally different weird and wonderful rules and regs, and this is a bit more complicated. So from really the first 9 events, the first 9 rounds of the series, it's just straight traditional racing, basically qualifying and racing. From that point onwards, the top 6 riders in the championship standings, only the top 6, they become the title fighters for the final 3 events. Now each title fighter begins the showdown and the same number with the same number of points. So the top 6 guys basically start the last 3 rounds with the same number of points, and they're all the title fighters in the showdown. Ooh. Plus they get additional points for each podium position they obtained in the main season. Now that's 5 points for a win, 3 for a second, and 1 for a third. So they all start on the same points, but they get additional bonus points based on how many podiums they had throughout the season. The standard point scoring format for the main season then continues for the showdown season end. So the season end consists of all points scored from the final 7 races. So it gets very complicated. So top 6 guys go through, they all have the same points, but in addition to the same points, they get points based on the podiums that they had for those first 9 rounds. And then in addition to that, for the last 3 rounds, it's standard point scoring on top of the points they've already accumulated to date for the final 7 races in those 3 rounds, because there's 3 races in the final round of the series. Just to confuse everybody, right? And that's been pretty lively, and again, mixed results. Some people like it, some people think, wow, way too complicated. Why do that? So I'm kind of interested to know what you think in your comments and questions. Which race series you like watching the most? Which is the most entertaining? And additionally, who do you think has got it right in terms of the organisers and in terms of the grid sequencing? For me personally, what I'd like to see is for the opening round of the season to be based purely on qualifying, and then each subsequent race, whether you're a 2-round series like AMA or World Superbike, or whether you're a single round like MotoGP, for each subsequent race, I'd like to see the grids reversed. So after the first round, whoever was on first on the grid, I'd like to see them right at the back, and whoever was at the back, I'd like to see them at the front. Now, some people may think, well, that's going to be carnage come the first corner of the racetracks, and maybe there's going to be a little bit of that. But ultimately, I think it gives the underdogs who are not on the full factory machines, they're privateers and on lesser machines with some factory parts, it gives them a bit more of a shout. It means the guys who truly win that championship truly are the best. They're not just having a good fast lap and got a good grid position and did well in the race from 5th or something. They can race. And what I mean by races, I don't mean go around the track extremely fast. I mean overtake people. When you overtake people, it's entertaining. And they've got to find a way to overtake people safely, because otherwise they knock people off, or they get knocked off themselves and they get injured, or people they knock off gets injured. So I think it's all down to the skill level, but it would make it highly entertaining, and it would certainly make the leaderboard change more frequently, and it would make it much more of a spectacle for people, because ultimately, whether we like it or not, irrelevant what the riders think, irrelevant what the organisers think, the fans go to watch two things. They want to see some racing, and that means some elbow barging and overtaking, and they also want to see people fall off. They want to see some crashes, and nobody wants to put their hand up and say that. And in this day and age where people are going fast and have the potential to get injured, that's it's a frightening thought. But ultimately, it's entertaining. Otherwise, people wouldn't watch things like Ultimate Wrestling Championships or whatever it is. People want to see, people going at it, and there's never more interest in race series than when Max Biaggi's having a punch up with somebody, or Marquez and Rossi have fallen out, or team orders have been loosely interpreted, shall we say. We want to see a bit of that. It makes a spectacle of it. It makes interest in the sport, and it makes it more exciting. Ultimately, it makes me want to turn on the TV and watch it more. Anyway, what do I know? I might be totally wrong. Tell me what you think. Put your notes in the comments down below. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd really appreciate it if you do. I try and put out a video every week, and I hope some of them at least you like, and you share with your friends, and certainly interested to know your comments on this one. And I hope the weather improves soon and we can all get out and ride our bikes, but in the interim, ride often, ride safely, ride on.